All right. Greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop, episode 36, a game podcast created by three people who knew there weren't enough video game podcasts. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by one other co-host today. His name is Scott.
Hello.
Scott, does Prince suck?
Prince?
Yeah, Prince.
No, not at all.
Prince is a legend?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, then answer me this. How come he has no good songs? If he's such a legend, how come he has zero good songs?
Wow. I don't, it's not something that I would probably pick out of a selection.
Yeah.
But I do respect him. I mean, as far as like pop artists go, he wrote all of his songs. He played guitar on all of his songs.
Yeah.
Actually a really good guitarist, by the way. Especially for being like 4'8" or something.
Right.
He was definitely an artist. There's a lot of artists that I respect, but I wouldn't necessarily.
Aren't necessarily your bag?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like his best song was that song that Irish lady with the shaved head sang. What was
Sinead
that
O'Connor.
song? Yeah. He made some comments like he didn't like the cover of her, and I'm like, "That's a great cover, you jerk." But then he passed away.
Well, I think most of them don't like the covers that are done. They're like, "Yeah, sure, you can do a cover. I'll just make money off of it," and then they make it, and they're like, "Nah, I didn't approve that."
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's move on here. I regret to inform longtime listeners that our third host, Thick, has been permanently removed from the podcast. Thick said something pretty terrible in our Discord, and I'm pretty certain Scott was just as offended as myself. So I'm going to let listeners know what Thick said in the podcast. And I know, Scott, this was upsetting to you, and you didn't even respond to it in the Discord. I know you were just upset, though.
Yeah, okay? I didn't want to respond to that because I didn't want to get canceled. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're canceling Thick because he said the following. He said, quote, "EA on a winning streak if this is good," referring to the new Star Wars game by Respawn, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Need for Speed Unbound, Dead Space Remake, Wild Hearts, and the upcoming Star Wars game." I mean, what world are we living in where that's a hot streak?
I don't know. I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah. So Thick, if you're listening, Need for Speed Unbound got a 75 on OpenCritic. Dead Space Remake did get an 89, but then Wild Hearts got a 79. You know?
Yeah.
There's no streak. A streak needs successive hits.
I think that. If anybody asks me, I don't know him. I mean, I've never met him.
Yeah, he's definitely removed. The only way he comes back if he grovels at our feet. But
right, maybe. Yeah,
and he might.
Yeah, and a public apology.
Yeah, public apology. That's right. All right. Over the next 90 or so minutes, we'll be covering a few different topics, such as Diablo 4's open beta, Deceive Inc., the AAA Mind's Eye game that was announced recently from Leslie Benz's Everywhere, or the game Everywhere, the sad news of Lance Reddick's passing, Resident Evil 4's high scores. We'll also be talking about Fortnite Creative 2.0, a corn kernel of Tears of the Kingdom information, Respawn Entertainment opening a third studio, and whether or not mobile gaming will forever be bad. So before I get started, I want to remind our listeners that they can drop us a comment, question, or an insult at the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel. Scott, how was your week?
It was all right. It's good. We had a lot of rain.
It sounds like you were really diving into maybe one particular game.
Yeah, I went from like last weekend playing the Diablo 4 early access beta.
Uh-huh.
And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday were sheer depression. And then Friday, the actual open beta started. So, I've been playing that not nonstop, but that's pretty much all I've been playing this weekend.
Okay. So there's 5 available character classes. How many of them did you get to level 25?
I did 4 of them.
Oh, you did?
No. No, I got one to I got my rogue to 25, but then just for time I wanted to I created a druid, a necromancer, and a sorcerer, and try those out. I didn't get to the barbarian, but all the classes that I played were very enjoyable. which is not something I could say for previous Diablo titles.
Okay.
And the Necromancer is completely OP, and please don't nerf him. I mean, it's
Oh, really?
I mean, it's, it's technically a single player game. Just let us be OP for a little while. So,
Okay.
exploding corpses. That's all I'm going to say. But we had a lot of fun with this. I think a lot of people did. The queue times.
Today they were zero. Today they were zero.
Zero. Yeah. And even on Friday, there was a 31-minute wait, which was actually ended up being about 20 minutes. Then after that, it was anywhere from like 1 to 5 minutes. And then Saturday it was a little better. And then today, just click right into it. So they did tweet that they're doing that intentionally, and that's how they stress the servers. That's how they test the load of how this is going to be when it launches. So I was glad to participate and help them get a better launch, hopefully.
Scott, can I ask you a couple questions?
Of course.
So this Diablo, or this open beta is like universally praised on the internet, right? I mean, you have praised it. Thick has praised it. That bad Thick person that we talked about earlier. Yeah, exactly. Scott, I played it anticipating. I wanted to like this game. Scott, I played it. I'm going to tell you specifically. I played it 5 different times. I said, I'm going to play it. And then once I start hating it so much, I'm going to stop playing. And I'm going to return to it later.
Right.
Each time I hated it.
Wow.
So I have a couple of questions. First of all, I'm the druid, right? I'm the guy who like turns into a bear.
Yeah.
I feel like half my time I'm slapping enemies while like the little ones are attacking me, and you can't really dodge.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, there's like a taller enemy that's the same as the short enemy, and he has a higher health bar.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like, like how Destiny has those orbs with just big squishy health bars.
Mm-hmm.
This is Diablo 4 the game. That's just what the game is.
Yeah, that's what it's always been.
Shouldn't, like, to me, I'm playing this game, I'm like, oh, this would be fun in 1994. This would be fun 1994 game. I'm like, how come they haven't improved the policy? But I'm the only person on the internet, I feel like, saying this.
No, you're not. You're not. This game, it's not for everybody. And even if, like, you're a diehard like Diablo 2 fan, I'm not going to say that this is you're going to be your favorite game.
Yeah.
What it does, what I like about it is that I like dungeon crawlers. I like, having a torch and a sword and going into a hole and killing monsters and getting loot and getting the objective or getting the whatever and then getting out,
Right. Let me interject right there.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying. I like them too, but here's what ends up happening for me. I enter a dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting like, my health is just like getting hit by like, I feel like a lot of attacks that I can't dodge. Like I just have to keep swiping at the large enemy, and then like every once in a while you'll do that ground pound that kind of does a AoE effect.
Yeah.
Right. And then what ends up happening is, like, pretty quickly in a dungeon, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I only have 2 out of the 4 vials left, those health vials.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh, I hope the game feeds me these random vials that pop out of chests and pop out of like enemies. And like sometimes it'll be like, oh, here's 2 extra. And then sometimes it's like, no, you're gonna die pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, to me that's not fun. It's like the game. I'm like hoping the game is like rooting for me. Right?
Well, yeah, I think that the key to successfully playing Diablo, especially by yourself, is utilizing those abilities that you get. Playing the druid, I didn't go with the transformation, I guess. I wasn't a werebear or werewolf. I used range, anything that was a range attack, or of course that area effect, which was that brings the ground up and crushes your enemies, which was very satisfying. But early on, and I think that they've ramped up the XP a little bit. I think you're leveling up probably quicker than you're going to do in the main game.
Final game.
Right. Because they want you to get those abilities and try those out. But what I had fun with the druid was doing doing the attacks, backing up a little bit, getting those enemies into like a chokehold, and then just smashing them with my other ability. So
Okay. All right.
it's playing on what you get, and then when you're like, you just get to where you're like, okay, I got this down, this is amazing, and then you level up, and then you get something else, and then it's like, oh, I like this one better. Oh, and then you get another one, and then another one you find out that you can use you can kind of start stacking these things.
Okay.
Like the sorceress I got, it was kind of like a electric jolt that hit one enemy, but then went to all of them. Okay,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I would use that, and then they would stun for maybe 1 to 2 seconds, and when they did that, I just hit them with like my flamethrower, spell,
Okay.
and it
Okay.
just leveled them. So when you start
Yeah.
kind of finding your abilities that work in like a sequence,
Yeah.
and then getting another one that kind of adds to that mix, then
Yeah.
you just start having more and more fun with it. And then there's the loot, and then you're doing that and you drop something that's like, whoa, this is really cool.
Right.
I was playing a necromancer, and I just started the character, and my wife's playing a barbarian. She was level 18, I think, and she got something she couldn't use, and she gave it to me. And instead of having that restriction on your level cap, like somebody having something more powerful, it's like you can't use this until you're 20 or something.
You're ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just picked it up and like boom, like my attack rating went sky high.
Sky high. Yeah.
So and even then, then you've got a new weapon that now does more damage to this and this, and so you go on. So it is repetitive, and I'm not going to argue that it is very repetitive. But it's that formula of getting loot and then killing more advanced enemies with those more advanced abilities that you just keep going on,
Okay.
and it just builds on that, and you just keep going with it.
All right. As you're talking, I'm understanding. So the way I built my druid, so I was a druid. I built them like, okay, I don't want six abilities right away. I want to kind of just have like 3 abilities, and I want to kind of level them up pretty powerful. So I keep upgrading that bear slap.
Yeah.
Right? he's slapping every 1 second. And I never felt like this slap was like devastating. Every once in a while,
I didn't either.
So every once in a while he was like especially the taller enemies, he would like slap him to the ground. I'm like, oh, that feels kind of good.
Yeah.
But it just feels like all those little minions would just surround me a little bit. So potentially what I'm hearing is maybe I just built the druid all wrong.
Yeah,
right?
and you can do a respec. Any of your abilities that you got, you can buy back like the skill point and put it in something else. And playing Diablo, I always put my main attack that I've got, I always kind of build that up 2 to 3, because that's going to be your fallback, because everything else is going to be using something like essence or mana or something like that. So you've got to build that back up to attack again. So I get that main attack up a little bit so that you're not just completely, if you run out of power or whatever, you're not just completely weak. But yeah, being able to respec anything, because I've gotten a couple of abilities on my necromancer that I was like, nah, I like this other one better. And I'll buy that back and then put it back into the ability that like sends a skeleton in front of me with the scythe and just attacks whatever's in front of me repeatedly. And I don't have to do anything. I'm just like, you know, and then it comes back, and then, you're out of essence or whatever. And then being able to raise the dead and have, these dead follow you around and fight for you. I mean, it's just kind of a power trip, It's like, okay, there's some enemies. I'm going to read this website, when you're done, you'll come back to me. But then you can also then they kill things, and then more come, and then you explode the corpses of those enemies, and then it kills those, and then it just keeps expanding on that. And that's where the fun is.
Okay. Now, all right. I hear you. So what I'm hearing is I picked the wrong class. You got it.
Yeah, you kind of want to start with a class that caters to how you want to play.
Let me tell you, the reason why I picked the druid is because I'm like, oh, you're going to have some melee and you're going to have some range. So I'm going to get the best of both worlds. But really, I'm just slapping people.
Yeah. The druid is
every 20 seconds.
Out of all of them, I think the druid is my least. Although I do love the bringing the ground up and just crunching.
I don't even have that. I don't have that.
It's just it's just like it comes up and they just like turn into mush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But The Necromancer I really liked, and the Rogue I really liked, and the Rogue is a lot of ranged attacks. Obviously, you have bows, and you have daggers, and you have swords, and you do melee attacks. But if they get any distance from you, you're throwing daggers. So you're constantly, throwing things.
You're throwing DPS out.
Right. And I got one attack that was just with the bow, and so you shoot your bow, but it's got a cooldown. But it doesn't stop you from using your bow. So you use a regular attack, and when that cooldown's over, boom, you get the super attack. So you're just like pop, 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 bam, pop, 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 bam. And then so the damage is just, insane.
Okay.
So yeah, you want to pick a class that kind of caters to how you like to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My bear throws wind out. It's like he shoots a piece of paper from a straw.
Yeah.
So it's just like pew. Like it's not satisfying at all.
Yeah. The druid in 2, if I remember correctly, you don't get to transform in anything right away. But when you do,
it should feel cool.
It is. You're like level like 10 or something. So then when you are a werewolf, you're just like mauling people.
Right.
It's just like they should be calling the police. I mean, it's just terrible. So in this, I was kind of surprised to see that you could just go right into being a werewolf or a werebear. Yeah. So that was I think too much.
All right, I have another question for you. So I'm at a dungeon where I'm just pissed off at everything because this is what happens in the dungeon. So you meet this like Japanese girl. She's like a ninja girl. Mm-hmm. You go through the dungeon and you meet her mom. Mm-hmm. You remember her mom?
Yeah.
She's like doing some weird ritual thing and she gets powers.
She's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then do you remember so it's a boss fight. She like spawns 2 like witch women and they're kind of like throwing out these AoE like slow. It's like bullet helly. Like a lot of these red orbs are flying off. My one boost. I have a boost every like 49 seconds because it's the slowdown is like it takes forever to move.
Yeah.
And because I'm a huge bear, I'm getting hit by all these little red orbs.
Yeah.
Because my guy takes up a quarter of the screen because he's a large hitbox, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, where I don't know. I'm just like, where's the fun in this?
Yeah, that actually doesn't sound fun. Yeah.
No, I played it wrong.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that's probably why you're able to respec those abilities and maybe put it in something else. All of that I played had effects that were, abilities that were varied.
Okay. And I didn't look into respecting.
Yeah, I mean, if you had done some more into just like regular melee or like I did some melee, he did a lot of damage just melee without turning into anything. Yeah. So, but the beta is over, I believe, the 26th, which is today of our recording.
Is it? Yeah.
But like last time, I got up Monday morning and tried it, and it was still up. So they may do the same. So try a different character.
Scott, I'm not done dissing Diablo 4. Okay, I have
go
2
ahead.
more points. I have 2 more disses coming. I'm trying to convince you that you did not have fun with Diablo 4.
Okay.
That's my goal. First of all, the story. I'm clicking through all the story. The story. I'm just like, okay, evil woman. It's not appealing to me at all.
No, I kind of agree with that, and I'm kind of staying away from it purposefully.
You're
because just because of the beta. When I can, because I'm in a hurry, it's time. It's like, oh, this cutscene is how long? Nope, skip.
Right.
This is a limited, experience. So I want to get through it and get as much as I can. So when it comes out, I'll pay more attention to it. But
take it, drink it in. You'll drink it in.
Yeah, it's basically like Lilith's back. She's going to kill everybody, and you got to stop her.
Yeah,
which is, not really any different than most RPGs.
Yeah. Okay.
But the side story, I did the side quests. Some of the side quests are pretty cool. There's a lady in town that if you talk to her, you go to an exorcism and you help her do an exorcism with this demon, and it's little stuff like that. That's kind of cool.
Okay. My last point here is, Scott, every time you talk about open worlds, I'm like, Scott gets it. He understands, right? The problems with like modern day open worlds. Mm-hmm. In this game, you're going up to a little NPC. He's telling you something stupid, and then quickly a yellow star pops up on the other side of a map. Yeah. And then you have to go trudging. Through essentially a 2D. It's like you go north, south, west, east.
Right.
and then they just have junk in front of you waiting for you to get there.
Right.
So let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Elden Ring, I also feel kind of a poor open world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but
Well,
at
yeah, it's
least
kind of the same
like,
thing. You go to some guy and he goes, "Hey, go do this," and then
yeah. But at least I feel like with Elden Ring, you're kind of, because it's a 3D thing, I feel like the geometry and like how you're traveling is just more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like when I'm looking at Diablo 4, it's just my camera. First of all, my camera's zoomed in, so I can only see 20 feet in all directions of my character.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Well, no, it's not zoomed in, Scott. That's just how the game is.
Oh, you mean well, you can zoom
Yeah.
in to your character, and he's like,
Yeah,
they're like this big, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it just
Right.
feels like just the natural
Limited view,
camera.
right?
Yeah. So I'm just like, I don't understand how that is fun. Like, okay, I have to walk 4 minutes to a yellow star to trigger the next NPC
Mm-hmm.
talking point, right? So you say so many great things about open world, Scott, and then you get quiet with this one, But I don't know. I guess that was my last point.
It's just coming from, again, I've played all the Diablos.
I know you
so
know
it's
what to expect.
when Diablo 1 came out, there wasn't a game like that. It kind of invented that.
Yeah.
I mean, there were similars, but not one that's like you click on here and your character goes in this hole, and then there's these enemies, and
Right.
So, just having that expansion on it, and again, I like games where you just can roam around and discover things and kind of find things on your own. It doesn't hold your hand or.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And having this, I don't think open world suits every game, or especially every sequel. Like games going to open world, Gears of War. This one I think is the exact opposite. I think this needs to be open world.
Okay.
I think having those little hub areas would not do this game justice, especially it being a drop in, drop out co-op experience like the other games were. But
right.
And as far as like the open world, I like it, but I agree with you. There's stuff there, but it's not. It doesn't seem to be populated with as much as a regular open world game. Mm-hmm. And I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Right? Okay. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it is. Sometimes you don't want to go 4 feet and somebody go, "Oh, can you help me?"
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, it's when the final game comes out, I'll have some time to think about, the beta. But I'm just having too much fun with it right now.
You're loving it, Scott. So I guess I have another question for you. So when this full release comes out, should Nathan try again? Like, do you feel like I played it wrong, or do you feel like, Nate, this is just not your game?
I think you still have time to just try another character.
Yeah. Okay.
And at least one other character,
So
and just try
I
it
have
out.
a druid. I have a level 16 druid. Should I just respect that, or should I start over?
You can just start with a new character. You can start over with a new character, and they do a cool thing, and they know this. They know you're going to play different characters. So any of the cutscenes or any of the conversation, just skip. I mean, it's like, I mean, I know what happens. I'm just going to hold this down. And so, like, starting with a new character and getting to like through the prologue to the point of joining another character could be maybe 10 minutes.
Okay.
Instead of the like 25 it took you the first time.
Okay, so that's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. So have we set our piece on Diablo 4?
Have you?
I don't know. I just feel like sometimes I'm like everyone, the effusive praise you see on the internet with this, and you're like, why am I not having fun with this?
I mean, it's not for everybody. It's not. Just because a game you think is like super good, you shouldn't go tell people. I don't care what you say. You should be playing it, right? I mean, it's not. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not. You can't make yourself like it. But from what you're saying with your character, I do think that you just picked the wrong character.
Okay.
You might find that another one's more fun.
Yeah.
Or not.
No, typically I like ranged characters, but I'm like, I kind of want to see the
play
melee.
the rogue.
I want to see the range.
Try the rogue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try that. All right. Well, we'll see. I think it comes out in June, right?
Mm-hmm.
June. Okay. All right.
Hope
well,
so.
I guess. So was that your week, Scott? It was Diablo 4.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. All right. All right. So for me, I probably put half my time in Diablo 4, and I put half my time into that new Deceive Inc.
Yeah.
That indie game. I think it's an indie game that no one's playing.
Right.
You know, the one that no one bought and no one's talking about. And, you know, it's a shame, but whatever.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So I decided to waste everyone's time by reviewing it based on my state-of-the-art multiplayer rubric. Do you guys? You clearly you remember the rubric
Mm-hmm.
that I had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm going to go down the 4 points, and I'm going to kind of give you a score, and then we're going to move on from this. Okay.
Okay.
Number one, I always feel like a multiplayer game needs to have appeal to a variety of play styles and a variety of skill levels.
Okay.
I'm saying Deceive Inc. is a 2 out of 4. I feel like the characters are actually interesting and they are varied enough. But what ends up happening when you have a jump on another character because you out-sleuthed them, you out-spied them, you out-snuck them, then they start the gunfight with 80% health and you have 100% health.
Mm-hmm.
So what ends up happening is, you know, you use your brilliant mind to give you a small advantage in the gunfight. And if that's a PC player who just hits all the shots, you're like, darn it, right? That sucks for me. Gameplay arc length, I always feel like the worst gameplay arc are those Call of Duty games where it's the same 20 seconds over and over and over, right? And then I feel like Battle Royale and survival games, they kind of have a longer arc.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is another 2 out of 4, which games are about 15 minutes long, and there's 3 pretty distinct sections. Like there's a first section where you got to unlock these vaults. There's a second section where you got to sneak into this higher security base and steal a briefcase, and then once you have the briefcase, you're doing section 3 and you're taken to an extraction. They all feel kind of different, and because it's a 12-player game, your odds of winning a game are pretty low. You know, you have a 1 in 12 chance of winning. So when you do have that briefcase, it does feel like you get a little bit of tensity, like you know, you feel like you're in a spy movie a little bit.
Right.
Like
That's the point. Right.
Yeah, I hardly ever get the briefcase, therefore I'm getting a little nervous here, right? Are there stakes in it? No, I feel like there are no stakes in it. I'd give it a 1 out of 4. It feels like all the games do kind of bleed into each other. And then how social is it? I'm giving it a 1 out of 4 because I have yet to talk to anybody in the game. No one is using mics. I don't know if mic chat works.
Yeah.
So you know, I guess I'm giving it a 7 out of 16, Scott. I still like it. I'll still play it a little bit, but it seems like this one is destined for a very low player base in a couple months.
Is this an early access game or is this full release?
No, this is full release now.
Ooh, okay.
This is full release. The gun, you know, I make fun of the gunplay all the time. You know, Thick makes fun of me for that. The gunplay's horrendous in here.
Oh, really?
I'm telling you, you shoot someone's head and then like 3/4 of a second later, the hit sound pops up in your ears, and you're just like, it should happen instantly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not good too because I feel like 80, you know, a lot of that game is just hitting your headshots. You know, it's not really outsmarting players,
right,
outsneaking them enough. So
yeah,
so it's a little disappointing.
It sounds like that probably would have a game like that with such a varied gameplay style may have benefited from an early access to get that feedback, you know, of you know, and make changes as they go. I don't say that about I get, you know, I'm just like everybody else. I get tired of early access, but that might have benefited from that.
Right. And I do think do you remember the Splitgate developers? There were 2 like college kids. They made Splitgate. That game felt pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It did.
And I know this studio, I can't remember what the studio's name is, but they say they're a collection of like ex-AAA developers, game developers. I'm assuming there's 10 plus of them. And I'm like, oh, the Splitgate devs outclassed you exponentially in terms of that aspect, right? So that's a little disappointing. Let's see, what are we doing here?
That's sad.
That is sad. But Scott, where are we in the podcast? This potentially could be edited out.
We're going to news.
No, before news, Scott. Before news, I want to open up our listener feedback section.
Well, Thick's not here, so.
Well, guess what? We have a new correspondent to tell us, right?
Okay.
Here's where our listeners of the Supply Drop participate in the discussion by going to the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel and dropping us a question, comment, hot take, or devastating insult. Let's go over to our listener feedback correspondent, Scott, and see what he has for us this week. Scott, let's tell us about our feedback.
We don't have any this week.
Okay, this week's listener feedback segment was brought to you by Lockheed Martin, ensuring apparently this is legit. Okay. Oh shoot, where'd it go? Oh, okay. Listen. It was this. All right. This listener feedback segment was brought to you by Lockheed Martin, ensuring those we serve always stay ahead of ready. That's their slogan.
Stay ahead
They're
of
a big
ready. Wow.
Lockheed Martin is a weapons
Well,
manufacturer.
thanks for supporting us on the on that mailbag.
All right. Let's get to the drop. The segment of our podcast where we talk about last week's most intriguing news story. Scott, what intrigued you this week?
Well, this is a really weird story, and I don't think anybody has all of the facts, but we got a trailer for a game called Mind's Eye, and this is from the guy that departed.
Leslie Benz.
Yeah, Leslie. Thank you. I've got
Or is
the
it
story
Leslie
right.
Benzies?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, he left. He left Rockstar under kind of, you know, they kicked him out basically, and then he sued him, you know, that kind of situation.
Oh, really?
But yeah, we got a trailer for a game called Everywhere, and it shows looks like a first person shooter. It looks like it's got racing. It's got like RGP sci-fi exploration. I don't know. It's got a little bit of everything, and it's everywhere apparently. But that's all you get. And if you go to their website, they have a teaser for Everywhere, which we saw, and then a new trailer for Mind's Eye, and that's it. Mind's Eye is a episodic story in this game called Everywhere. So basically, it is a game inside of a game. So you've got these hub worlds, and this game is, from what he says, is going to like play out inside of that game.
Yeah.
And that's all we know. I mean, it's got different episodes. They're going to connect in some way to extend into an overall story arc. But I don't know. This sounds like a Christopher Nolan movie. I mean, it's really weird. And this guy, he is obviously crazy, and he has a game studio, and he's not afraid to use it. I mean, this just sounds super ambitious. It sounds like Ready Player One stuff.
Right. Scott, two games come to mind when I'm hearing this story.
Probably the same ones I'm thinking of. Yeah.
All right. Well, what are you thinking of?
Well, one is Roblox, which is The other one, Fortnite has a new Fortnite editor.
Right.
And we're already seeing. I watched somebody play a domination match in Fortnite that somebody made.
Yeah.
You've got A, B, and C, and the teams are going and capturing
That's weird.
Yeah. I'm maybe playing Fortnite again. So, and that is a game inside of a game. You know, we see this kind of with Halo Infinite, with with the map editor. People are not just making maps; they're making stories. They're making new gameplay. They're making racing games, horror games. They're making all kinds of stuff. Is this a new trend? Is this what gaming is going to be? You know, is this the new BR? Is just a open platform for people just to create content?
Right. Scott, let me tell you this. So you know how I'm obsessive about those Xbox Live most played charts?
Mm-hmm.
Xbox ranks their top 50 most played games. A couple of years ago, Roblox came to my mind. Like it started getting popular enough to where I'm like, okay, let me see where this is in the charts. It was super low on the charts.
Yeah.
Guess where it is today, Scott?
Oh, probably number 2, number 1, maybe?
It's number 3. Number 3 behind Fortnite and Warzone.
Yeah. It is big.
It's huge.
You? I remember. Was it Kim Kardashian or something? There was something somebody had her movie in Roblox. It wasn't, and some kid saw it and everybody like freaked out and everything. Yeah. So she was on Twitter, of course, saying, "I'm suing the company," until she found out how much they were worth, and would probably eat her alive. And then she redacted that and didn't say anything else about it. They're worth billions of dollars. This is like one of the biggest money-making games on the planet. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't even think that. No. I mean, it looks like a kid's game.
Right. I feel like I've Googled top 10 largest video game companies on Earth, and like the Roblox company is like number 7.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's how massive it is. Yeah.
Every time I come up with Roblox, it's that, oh, look what somebody made in Roblox, and
Right.
it's like 3 Call of Duty maps, and it looks almost just as good as Call of Duty, and these people are playing it, and I'm like, what I don't. So
Yeah.
what is going on with these games? This guy, he sees it. Again, I think he's completely mad. I think he's like the Ridley Scott of game production. But what he did with Grand Theft Auto Online, even Rockstar was like, we don't. You can do whatever you want to with it. We don't care. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't even want to do it. Now look at it. I
It
mean,
became
it's
their primary moneymaker.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, they're making things in that are there's new content for that all the time. You know.
Right. Right.
So this may be, if this was 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and we were talking about this game called Everywhere, I would think that it wouldn't come out. I would
You'd
just
write-
be like,
yeah.
this is
You'd write it off.
vaporware, right? Now I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that this might be the next big thing.
Well, here's why I'm writing it off. I'm writing it off because I feel like he was 5 years too late on this idea. Epic is this giant company now, right?
Right.
And it sounds like Epic is like, oh, let's take our engine and our 5,000 game developers and let's basically create a Roblox, but in Fortnite or
Right.
with Creative 2.0. So I feel like Leslie Benz's studio is like, we're like a 200-person studio. We're an up and coming, and they're like, oh my gosh, the giants have arrived at this thing. Like, the way this game succeeds is if those giants don't show up. That's kind of my take on it, right?
Well, I mean, Fortnite's, I think, just getting the jump on them. I mean, they just,
Right.
releasing the editor opens up pretty much anything for the game. It's just like Halo Infinite. I mean, once you
Right.
get the Forge, you can make any kind of gameplay style or anything out of those. And with them, gosh, some of the stuff that I'm seeing does not look
High
like
quality.
Fortnite. It looks
No.
great. It looks
Right.
it looks really good, and it's of
Right.
course Unreal 5. But it's, I think that needs some focus. I think, Fortnite is just like, oh, they're doing this. Oh, we can probably do this.
Right.
Take a couple of days and a couple $1 million, see what you come up with, and then bam, there it is. Right.
Right.
That's how we got the BR in Fortnite anyway. Over a weekend, these guys said, oh, we're going to make, the next BR game and see how people like it. And
Right.
a week later,
It did well for him.
it did very well. Right. So everybody wants that. Everywhere, is that the next thing? Is that going to be? Probably not, but it could be. It could be like, it could come out and it could be polished. It could be any game you want. Just go to a different part of the game to play whatever you want.
Yeah.
Most likely it will just be a big, open world game with a lot of things to do and none of them particularly, good. Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
Well, apparently,
I don't know.
Scott,
I'm hopeful.
If me and you looked at the Roblox games, I think we would say the same thing. Like, oh, these kind of look like rough, kind of amateurish games, and they're crazy popular.
Right.
So I have a feeling like
maybe it doesn't have to be that good.
maybe it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he's banking on. Because, I mean, it's just like anything else. It's like if you have a game that does everything,
Then what is it good at?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be the best racing game. It's not going to be the best shooter. It's not going to be the
Right.
best RPG or story or whatever.
Right.
But does it have to be? That's the question.
Well, it's interesting. I feel like Dota and League of Legends, right? They came out of Warcraft 3 mods,
Mhm.
right? So it's interesting how a huge, super successful, and in my opinion, a phenomenal game, like grew out of essentially another game. And this is just kind of maybe making it a little bit easier for that to happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe the quality might be there. I know with me, I just care more about ideas than execution. Deceive Inc. I'm having fun with Deceive Inc. Execution isn't amazing, but the idea is kind of fun for me.
Right.
So I guess you have to wait to see. The public seems to want that too, right?
Yeah. And, games can't just keep making sequels. I mean, I talked in
Right.
great length about, Diablo 4 and how much I like it, but, we want something new. I mean,
Right.
we want that experience. I keep talking about AI. I want to play single player games where the characters in it are actual characters and that you can
Right.
talk to them and
Right.
um, just have that immersion. Uh,
By the way, small aside here. Have you seen the news articles recently saying that the Unity engine is like teaming with, I don't know if it's Chat GPT, but they're kind of
mm-mm.
integrating AI into NPC technology?
No, but that's
Oh, it's
exactly
it
what I want. That's
right. So I clicked on a little video. You know that new Bannerlord game, Mountain Blade Bannerlord?
mhm.
It's on PC, but I think it's on console too. But they basically integrated it into their NPCs, and like it was really interesting. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, if this is like just some person doing a little small project, like what could a team do
Right.
with that idea, right?
Right,
So yeah,
exactly.
that's exciting.
That's what I'm talking about. If
Yeah.
everywhere, all of these games are banking on being this social hub and this social, network. I don't
Hmm.
think that's always a good idea, and I don't think it's always the best bet. I think that
Yeah.
if you make a game that is a world that you can get into, um, uh, it's that's that could be the future of gaming. You
Yeah.
know, when
Yeah.
you and maybe and then maybe you and somebody else can go through a game together and ideally have different experiences depending on how you interact with other people or beings or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's where I would like to see gaming start going,
Yeah.
but with whatever, sorry, everywhere. I keep calling it whatever. With everywhere, it's just it looks promising,
Yeah.
um, but I
Yeah.
guess we'll have
Scott.
to wait and see in the next 6 or 7 years when it actually comes out.
Scott, I think it's slated for release this year. Now,
Mm,
granted, we're gonna
mm,
get a delay,
yeah, we're gonna
but
get a delay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Scott, let me ask you another question. They have shown some gameplay of this, right? Like of the
Yeah,
car,
kind
of
of. Yeah.
they're short clips. But in
Yeah.
my opinion, I'm like, that's Fortnite. Like, is that
Yeah.
Fortnite or is that
Well, it
everywhere?
looks like GTA Online.
I know it's like indistinguishable,
Right.
right?
Right. I mean,
So
it looks like you playing GTA Online,
yeah,
which is not. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. If you take that gameplay model and put it in something that's not tied to, that fictional city with those fictional characters, and you
right,
can kind of do whatever you want to with it.
yeah,
Um, that's to me that's exciting. I want to see that. I just
yeah,
and I'm trying to. I want to be positive about it because I think
yeah.
that if it's
It's
good, it could be
ambitious.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this, what's always bugged me online is when after every successful battle royale that comes out, people are like, "Oh, the market can only support so many battle royales."
Mm-hmm.
And then you see like PUBG hits, Fortnite hits, Apex Legends hits, Warzone hits, like all these like, "Oh, actually the market's bigger than you think."
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how many Roblox or Everywhere or Fortnite Creative can exist, or is there just
Uh,
gonna be one dominant?
yeah. I don't think it's as many.
Right. I don't think
Especially
so
if
either.
you're a content creator, if you're making things for say
You're gonna
Roblox,
you're gonna be hooked in.
yeah, you're going to be invested in that.
Right.
And I don't know what goes into making those things, but if you take that and then go over to Fortnite, start using the Unreal Editor,
Yeah.
which all of these, keep in mind, you don't need programming experience.
Yeah.
That's what's key. Like
Right.
the Halo Infinite Forge, you're not writing code.
Hmm.
It's all in that game engine,
Right.
and that's what is so bizarre.
Yeah.
You know,
I, Scott, I know Epic announced that they're going to do a 40-60 split with creators.
yeah,
If you're creating
yeah,
content in Creative 2.0, you're going to get 40. So to me, that's like I feel like people are like, oh, I want some income, and I'm talented at this. Like
yeah,
this could be,
yeah.
do I want to work here? Do I want to work at Starbucks?
Right.
Right. So it's that does feel like pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Scott, was that your only story this week?
No, I had another. I wanted to mention that Resident Evil 4 Remake gets a 10 out of 10 at IGN,
Boo.
which,
Boo.
I, I, yeah, I mean, how do you feel about that?
I hate it. I hate it with all my heart. I have so much hatred for this.
Well,
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about it. This game did not come out this year. I mean, Dead Space. We got Dead Space. They did an excellent job with Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the original Dead Space was a 10 out of 10, which I don't. It wasn't.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think you can put a 10 out of 10 on a game that's not 10 out of 10.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's like if they took Resident Evil 4 and they did change some things and, of course, updated it and modernized it, much like they did with Dead Space. So, but it's the same game.
Right.
They didn't change it. It's not a complete, interpretation of that game.
No.
So that's just, I don't know. It's just,
Scott, I'm gonna run a script past you for a new episode of The Twilight Zone, or remember Outer Limits, Twilight Zone. We're gonna fast forward 20 years, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And there's gonna be a new remake. It's gonna be Resident Evil 4 extra pretty version. It's in 20 years.
VR.
Doesn't this seem like a hellscape, like a futuristic, like creatively bankrupt, like?
Yeah, it seems like Capcom is like, oh, we made a remake and made a lot of money. Oh, we'll get on the next one. Let's do the next one. Let's do the next one. Are these funding new games, or are these funding new remakes? That's what I'm worried about. It should be funding Dragon's Dogma 2.
I agree.
Yeah,
right.
So that's a new franchise. But there's nothing wrong with it getting a 10 out of 10. I mean, somebody thinks it's a 10 out of 10 game. But if you've never played it, if you've never played Resident Evil 4, which I never have. I mean, I've played a little bit on like each format here and there. I just don't like it. Is that playing it right now? Could you give it a high score? I don't know. I don't think so. If you've never played it before, I played the demo, and of course, again, this is from somebody that never really sat down and played the whole game through and everything. I found it clunky and boring and not scary and uninteresting. So
no, I'm with you.
I would not give that demo a 10 out of 10. But
I hope our third ex podcast host, I hope he's seething right now listening to us talk about this. He might be.
He's like, I need to be there right now.
Scott, I have another idea for a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Fast forward 20 years, our main character in our episode is playing Pac-Man, except that the graphics in this Pac-Man are phenomenal. And every once in a while, if you beat a couple levels, it'll play a cutscene for you.
Yeah.
And then everyone's giving it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because it's Pac-Man.
Yeah. Scott, I have one more idea for a Twilight Zone episode, okay?
Yeah.
Pong. Pong in 30 years.
Pong remake.
A guy's trapped in a room, and it's lifelike graphics, except there's a cutscene every once in a while. 10 out of 10, right?
There's so many people listening to this right now that are going, they don't know what they're talking about. Resident Evil 4 is the best game ever.
Yeah. If you like Resident Evil 4, unsubscribe to the podcast.
No, don't do that.
Unsubscribe.
Don't do that. No. When Resident Evil 4 came out, it came out on the GameCube, and I was I was in that transition between going from like hardcore PC to Xbox. And so there's a lot of games within that area that I didn't play just because I didn't have a means to. And there's a lot of games, and I looked at the graphics and was like, why does everybody think this game looks good? I mean, have you seen Quake 2? So going into console around that time, I just never got into to playing it.
Okay, you
Just
brought something.
never came up.
You brought something up here. All you PC guys back in the day who were like, look at like Unreal Tournament, look at Quake 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, us console people, we appreciate like a good art direction. Resident Evil 4 had great art direction. Right, the characters had like non-polygonal.
Yeah, I'm
faces.
not talking about Resident Evil 4 though. I'm just talking about games in general. Like GoldenEye for a good example would be like.
Yeah.
Really.
Right.
But I'm just saying that it's. I don't know. I really can't say much more about Resident Evil 4. I've tried to play it many times. I just cannot get into it. It's just the story is just silly.
Yeah.
And the horror in it is not very good. I thought
Yeah.
7 was way better. I thought Village was even better than that. So going back to these, just
No,
not,
thank you.
yeah, not
Yeah.
feeling it.
I just think
So
it's sad that our like I feel like critics in the past, like when we were younger, you'd hear critics use like terms like, oh, this is like it's cliche or it's like repetitive. It does nothing new. It's those types of like
mhm.
critics who like with movies or books or TV.
Right, it's been done. It's yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they really appreciated like someone taking a creative risk and
Hmm.
then like trying to execute on it. Now I feel like critics are like, it's a big publisher. It's got pretty graphics. Let's give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
So,
especially with remakes. I mean, it's um, even like with Dead Space, I did play that. I played the original multiple times. I played the new one.
mhm.
And if it got a low score or a lower than the original one, I would be puzzled, but I would be like, well, okay,
Yeah,
it's the same game. It's not a
yeah,
different game. They didn't change anything. That was the point.
right, right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, we'll just see. There's going to be more remakes. I don't think there's anything wrong with remakes. I just think that
Hmm.
um, they're for the people that played them before. I'm not sure if every game can be remade and handed
Yeah,
to a new person. You,
yeah.
what did you play recently that you never really played before? Was it Halo? No, it was.
Wait, me personally, Nate.
Yeah,
What
maybe
game
I'm
did I?
thinking of Thick.
It
Maybe it was
might,
Thick.
yeah.
I
He
was
who
thinking of
shall not
somebody
be
that,
named. Yeah,
yeah, there's somebody that played something.
yeah. Maybe
Well,
Metroid Prime. I don't
Titanfall
know.
2 is kind of an example of that. When Titanfall 2 came out, it was the greatest campaign ever made. You play
Right.
it today, had never playing it, I can't say that you
It
would.
holds up.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it would, but
yeah.
you played it and you
You're
didn't.
more open. You're more open to the idea that video games are advancing. They're progressing somehow.
Right. I would like to think so.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
but then,
Yeah.
but then we get remakes. So
Well, one thing I think is interesting. The GoldenEye game just came out.
Mhm.
What was that? A remake? It wasn't a remake. It was
No,
just a
not at all.
port. Or
There's a port. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. But people like trash that game. People are like that game is garbage, right? Because it basically is garbage, right?
Mm,
I mean,
well,
come on now.
most people said it's the best shooter ever made.
No, no. At the time they did because I
Right.
feel like that was everyone's first taste of a console, like a decent first-person shooter,
Right.
multiplayer at least.
Right.
But I feel like today it's like everyone's like, oh, I used to love that game. That game didn't age very good.
Hmm.
And I feel like, why aren't you seeing those comments with like Resident Evil 4? Like, why aren't we?
Nostalgia. It's nostalgia will lie to you. You know, when you play something like if you played Halo CE when it first came out and you haven't played it since,
Mhm.
in your mind, you remembering that if you loved it, you remember it and it looks like Halo Infinite
Right.
in your head, and then when you go
Right.
back and play it, you're like, "What is this?
What the heck?"
Yeah, this is terrible." Nostalgia lies to you. You know,
Mhm.
that movie that you watched when you were 8, you thought was the best movie ever, and then you watch it
Right.
now and you're like, "This is total garbage. What was I thinking? I
Right.
was just an idiot." I think that's where we fall into, like Resident Evil 4 and things like that. Um, I don't know. It's a hard question to answer for anybody that loves Resident Evil 4, but is it still a great game?
Well, Scott, here's another question. Here's another thing. I feel like, what percentage of the critics who are composed of the Metascore for Resident Evil 4, what percentage of them are 25 and under?
Yeah, I don't know.
I bet you there's a decent chunk of them.
Probably.
And I think
Yeah.
they're still giving it a 10 out of 10. Because
Yeah.
I think those kids who are 23 right now reviewing the game were like, they weren't playing Resident Evil 4 at the time.
If they
Right.
were, they probably weren't supposed to. Right.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I
they were
went to
still
a
on
buddy's
instant.
house and I played Resident Evil. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that was when Nintendo had mature titles
Yeah,
on their
yeah.
consoles. Yeah, it's nostalgia. That's all I can
Yeah.
say.
Screw you, people.
Yeah.
Screw all our listeners. Okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm sure there's somebody that agrees with that. It just,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's one of those games I just don't like.
yeah. All right, Scott, was that so? You had two solid stories this week. Do you have a
Yeah.
third solid story?
Well, I just wanted to comment on the passing of Lance Reddick,
Yeah.
the actor, the voice actor, the Destiny player. That was really sad for anybody that's played Destiny since day one. He's been a staple. I mean, it's his voice is iconic in that game. His character is iconic. He, it's been there from the very beginning, and it's really sad news. Bungie did state the other day that he will live on as the character of Zavala. They've obviously got recordings going into their next expansion or next seasons or whatever.
Yeah.
Which leads kind of think that maybe they're not like getting rid of the character. Obviously, they're going to go into that, but eventually they'll have to do something, unless this next expansion and everybody is getting toasted.
Yeah.
And they're just scrapping and starting over again.
Well, he was also a heavily featured character in the Horizon franchise.
Yes, he played in Horizon. He did. Yeah, he did a lot of TV work. Basically, if somebody had a weird idea, he would do it. He loved doing weird stuff, especially with his voice. I remember that. I think it was kind of funny where the guy goes in Toys R Us and he's working and it just like gets in his face. But yeah, and he was also on Twitter. He would show videos and speak to the players of Destiny. He's like, hey, everybody,
That's cool.
Yeah, and there was one notable, and Nate, you don't know this because you don't play, but there's a cut scene in one of the expansions and one of the DLCs where there's an alliance with one of the enemies, and it's the daughter of the boss, the somebody you killed in a raid. Anyway, she says, "Well, we'll align with you and do this and this and this if you kneel before us," and Zavala's line is just no. And everybody was like, that's cool, but wouldn't it be cool if he actually said why they're saying no?
Really?
Like gone through we have killed so many of your people. Like basically these guys kill gods for fun, So he did. Somebody wrote that and then he went on Twitter and read it as the character. The whole thing, cuss words and all, and it was amazing. And this is kind of like, this is what he should have said.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So he loved that stuff. He was he loved the game. He played the game with, and there was people on Twitter that talked about when they got a chance to play with, him on PlayStation.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that's just, it's a big loss, and he just seemed to be a really genuine guy. So he'll be missed.
Right. Rest in peace for sure.
Rest in peace. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was all I had.
Wow, what a downer. How do you come back? How do you follow up that? I'm going to try.
You don't, but you can try.
All right. All right. So I guess I'm going to cut it down to, I have two news stories this week. One is a little kernel of information. This is according to, I'm probably saying this wrong, Eiji Enuma. Eiji Enuma. Sure. He's the director of the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, I think. I think he's the director. He said something that I'm taking, and I'm going wild with it with my imagination, okay? Which is stupid because it never works out when you do that, okay? He said, quote, in the sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, furthermore, the player's free imagination will be filled with new gameplay that will bring about changes to the game world. That's my huge issue with open world games, right? These game worlds, they don't change. They're they're NPCs. You set them up, you knock them down, and you move on, right? Right. So, I know there was some crafting in the trailer. There was some building in the trailer. I'm hoping, this world is more of maybe a survival-esque world, right? So we'll see. I guess we'll see what it is.
Yeah, we'll see. That's, I don't know. It's almost a little bit like a cash grab. It just feels like maybe like, oh, here's more and more and more of this, everything you like. But I mean, I guess so.
I'm big on the DLC. If a game looks like DLC, I'll come out and call it. So this does look like DLC.
It does. Not to say it's going to be bad, but
no. Yeah. But I'm hoping like, we really haven't seen the innovations yet, No. And again, whenever I think like that, it never turns out true. But hope springs eternal, Scott. Hope springs eternal. You know?
It'll be huge. It'll be
Yeah.
fantastic and huge and
Yeah, and it'll never go on sale. It's always going to be 70
right.
bucks.
It'll be
oh, it's
70
70
bucks
bucks.
forever. Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
On a
All right.
7-year-old console. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. News story number 2. Respawn Entertainment is opening a new studio based in Madison, Wisconsin. This is their third studio, and it will primarily be focused on supporting Apex Legends.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is interesting because I'm looking up at all their other projects that are in the works. It seems like they're just making a bunch of single player Star Wars games.
They've got 2. Yeah, they've got
2.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, or the new one, Survivor, right. And then they've got another unannounced first person game. That's
right,
and
we'll be talking about that a little bit later in the rumor section. But I guess this is what interests me about this story. I feel like, you know, if I think this game came out back in 2018, they landed on this, I think, an amazing concept of open world multiplayer. I just assumed at the time, I'm like, oh, they're just gonna do they're just doing a different multiplayer game. They're gonna have 3 big multiplayer projects in the works, and they're not doing that, right? They're grabbing on an IP and they're gonna give the sure hits, the single player IP driven titles, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, none of these titles are none of these titles are gonna sell less than 10 million copies.
No.
And they're happy with that.
They're happy with that.
All right. We're gonna head over to the rumor mill. Okay. This week we have 5 rumors.
Ooh.
They're decent this week. Okay. So Scott, tell us what you think of this.
Okay.
First rumor number 1.
Hit me.
And this is an old rumor that has, I guess, recently been proven true. But microtransactions have been removed from Redfall. Scott, is this a red flag, or is this a good thing?
Why would it be a red flag?
Okay, here's why I'm saying it's a red flag.
Yeah.
They made a primarily focused multiplayer game. I know it can be played single player, but it seems obviously it's built.
It seems like it looks to me like it's kind of a live service.
I think if you have a live service, you want that game to be thriving 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road. I think they have no confidence in the title. I think they're like, we're not building a story in this game. This game is going to be dead in 3 months. Could that be true, or is that false?
It could be more of a single player game than we think. Meaning,
is this wishful thinking, or do you?
No. I think that maybe we're assuming that it's a live service and it's not. That.
Let me tell you. They planned on having microtransactions in the game.
Okay.
This is something they're like pulling back.
Yeah.
So I guess you could still be right that maybe it's more of a single player oriented than we think.
Yeah, I mean, is it going to be more of like a, hey, you're going to be playing this for, maybe you can finish it in a couple of hours, not in a couple of hours, but, I mean, it is a big open world game. Say a 10 or 20, 30-hour game that you play with your friends, or you can replay with other friends, or, that kind of thing. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, it's for us, not necessarily for them. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not that great for them. But I don't know. It's really hard to say. They haven't made anything like this. It seems like whenever a studio, it's like, oh, we've made all these single player experiences. Now we're making something completely multiplayer with, live transactions and, I don't know, like Fallout 76.
Yeah.
It doesn't go well.
Yeah.
But
Scott, I have a question. You probably hate this question, but I'm asking it anyway.
Yeah, do it.
What's the meta score of this game going to be?
I'm going to say 78.
Okay, I was going to say about an 81.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in the same ballpark.
It looks good. I mean, it looks fun. It looks, put a flashlight on in your gun and go at night and hunt down vampires. I mean, what's not fun about that?
Right.
But it's just, and the people that they've given it to, YouTubers and stuff like that, and then they played it and they have their comments on it, and it's kind of 50-50. You got some that are like, hey, this is great, it's just a fun game, and the others are like nitpicking it to death. But that them like taking the single player all offline does make me think that it's not a live service. How can it be, right?
Well, they're taking a single player and they're making it so it doesn't require an internet connection, right?
Right.
So yeah, that just I don't think that's a
weird.
great. It's weird.
Who doesn't have an internet connection anyway? Why is everybody so upset about that? I don't understand that anyway. I mean,
I don't get it either. I don't understand it either.
I mean, 90% of the games that I play require an internet connection.
Right.
And it's not like it's not like it's water.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm turning it off when I'm not playing a game. Turn the internet off.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, this game's just really weird. It's so back and forth. Every time if I hear something about it, I'm like, oh, well, I don't know about that. And then I hear something else, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. And then I see something, I'm like, that looks terrible. And then I see something else, like, wow, this looks really fun. Yeah. So I don't even know what to think anymore.
Is this crazy if I say this? Arcane is on a downward trajectory. Or is that too harsh?
I think it's a little harsh.
You do think so?
Yeah. The team that made Deathloop is not the team that made Dishonored.
Okay.
It was a different group. They kind of put together another group to make Deathloop because these guys were working on Redfall.
Okay.
Because they had finished Prey and they went right into making this. So I don't know. Yeah. I wish this game would come out so I know what I feel about it. I can actually get it in my hands.
When is it coming out?
It is coming out May 11th, I think.
Oh, is it?
Right.
So that's not next week.
No, but it's not. No. It's not next year either. Unless we get a one of those. Oh well, yeah. Let's see. May 2nd. Ooh, that's even closer. Yeah.
Oh, May 2nd. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right. So we'll see.
A month and a week.
All right. Let's go to our rumor number 2. And Scott, you should have something to comment on about this. Sure. Dark and Darker is no longer available on Steam.
Yeah.
Apparently, publisher Nexon says, according to their investigation, Dark and Darker appears to have been built and developed using trade secrets and copyrighted information stolen from Nexon. So this game was kind of hot for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
This was obviously the dungeon crawling roguelike, right?
Yeah, this game wasn't even released yet.
No.
They had some play sessions that you could get into. And the first one I did was great. The second one was kind of iffy, but yeah, the rumor is that there's some guys that actually stole some things from Nexon, unknowing to the developers of Dark and Darker, and then were hired to come work for them with that.
Oh, really?
With that information and with that, whatever they took.
Okay.
And then they fired them, obviously. But I think that Nexon is now like, well, if you used any of that, you're going to have to, shut your game down. Plus,
right.
There's a game called P3, I believe, that Nexon is working on. It is very, very similar to Dark and Darker.
Oh, is it
really? And they're saying that, they took their idea and left with it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which, it's game industry. It happens. But
right.
So, yeah, all of this is, half of this is rumor and half of this is true, so we don't know where this is going to land.
Yeah,
this may be, legally, it may be the end of Dark and Darker.
Right. We love talking about legal stuff on this podcast.
We do, because we're both lawyers and we know a lot about it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to rumor number 3. Venom voice actor Tony Todd says Spider-Man 2 promotion begins in August with a potential September release date. Interesting. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is the sequel to that animated film, is releasing June 2nd this year.
Yeah.
I kind of thought maybe they'd... Excellent movie. Right. I kind of thought maybe they'd want to jumble those kind of packages together a little bit. But I'm not interested in this game at all. I'm over Marvel. I don't like these beat 'em up, I guess, open world. I do like open worlds, but nothing about this game is interesting to me.
Yeah. I'm going through Miles Morales now. And I'm not enjoying it as much as Spider-Man.
The first one, really?
Yeah.
Is it too samey?
No. It's more of like, when you play the first one, you're Spider-Man, but you're not, you didn't just get bit and you're not trying to figure out how to use your, abilities, right? You're Spider-Man.
You don't like the origin story.
I don't want to play through the origin story, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it, but it's like I don't want to have to discover how to,
Right.
So you start off, you're Spider-Man and you're hitting the streets and you're fighting crime. I thought that was great. I loved it. Mm-hmm. This one is more of you're still kind of figuring out your stuff.
Okay.
And I think it's just I'm just tired of it. It's just
Right.
exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And Spider-Man 2, I'm sure will not be like that. You do play both, I think, or you alternate. But yeah, I think I got enough of the first one. This will come to PC eventually, and I'll wait and see what it is. But I mean, it is fun. I have to admit, it is fun swinging around New York as Spider-Man. The story missions and a lot of the other stuff, you can't really. It is one of those games where that I'm not fond of. That go and do anything you want in open world, and then in 3 seconds we're gonna call you to go do something else, or we're gonna say, you need to go here. You got to do this. You're done with that? Great, go here now. You got 3 seconds.
Right.
So it kind of pushes you through the story, and it doesn't have to. So yeah, I think I'm done.
I think this is a studio that was developed Spider-Man 2018.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Insomniac.
making Spider-Man 2, right? And so that will be around a 5-year dev cycle, which is, I guess that's not long enough in today's, because two other games that had 5-year dev cycles essentially were God of War, Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 4.5 years, and then Horizon Forbidden West had a 5-year dev cycle, I think.
Forbidden West.
So it just
that was
seems like
2017, I think. To
17 to.
I think, yeah. So it's about
ish.
Yeah, and these are sequels too, so it's not like they're starting from scratch.
Right. I think people kind of have high expectations for this one. I'm like, it's going to be a slightly prettier 2018 Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I think.
It's going to be built on the same engine. They're probably going to use a lot of the same assets. I mean, why wouldn't they? It's New York. It's not like,
I think people have this idea. I think it's PS5 exclusive, so people are like, "Oh, it's going to be totally," it's that thing that Scott warned us about. Like, it ain't happening, folks.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see.
Well, I'm sure it'll be good, and like on PC, I may play it, but I'm just getting kind of tired of these kind of games.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, rumor number 4: a bunch of job postings on LinkedIn for Respawn's first-person shooter project says, "quote inspired by classic titles like Dark Forces and Jedi Knight." Dark Forces 2, our story-driven single-player game is being developed from the ground up, leveraging the power of Unreal Engine 5. So this is their rumored second Star Wars title. Scott, I know you've played both these titles. What does it look like in 2024 if this game comes out then, or 2025? What is the vibe that these titles go for? Is it linear? Is it open?
I think that it's probably going to be semi-open.
Semi-open?
Yeah. I don't think you can make a shooter now and have it that linear,
I don't know, Scott. Now I know you keep saying it's not linear, but I keep telling you it's linear. Is that last Star Wars, the Jedi Survivor? Am I getting it right?
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
Right.
I'm telling you, that's pretty linear.
Well, the story is right, but you can go in between. You can go to whatever planet you want, at any time.
But is the planet like a maze? Is it like, okay, you land here and then you got to go forward and then you got to make a left?
No,
go straight?
No. It's like it's a it's like Castlevania and what do they call it? The name.
Metroidvania.
Yeah, thank you. So you got like a hub and you go to this area and this area and this area and you complete this and then the story pushes forward and then it's like, I got like 15 doors I couldn't go through. And then later you get an ability and then, I can go back to these doors.
Right.
So you're kind of like, it gives you the sense of just planet hopping. Like you got a ship, you got a crew,
That's cool.
Yeah. And each world has it is linear, but they're open enough so that you have some variety of where you can go and what you can do and things like that. I really enjoyed that because again, not every game has to be just an open world game.
Right.
It doesn't have to be, climb this, and open up the rest of the map.
Yeah.
I think this will probably be a lot more like that. I think it'll be kind of more hub based. And you're going to be doing a lot of the same things, hopefully, in this game as you were in Fallen Order. The first person shooter, if they could pull off a game in 2024 where you're playing a linear single player first person shooter in Star Wars universe and make it compelling and replayable. And I think they can do it.
Okay.
It would be very bold, but
Yeah.
I just don't know how that would sell now. Like you said, like again, Titanfall 2, what would that sell like right now?
Yeah. I guess on the other end of the spectrum, I'm like The Last of Us 2, very linear. It seemed to sell pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do think, I feel like single player Star Wars people, they kind of want to be told a story, and I feel like a linear story is easier to do. Wasn't there?
Yeah.
Didn't some developer tweet out like linear games are easier to make? Like
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
for just easier to make, period.
right.
Because
Yeah.
you're not relying on, it's like, oh, well, what if the player goes over there?
Yeah,
Well, it just
exactly.
screws up the whole story, right?
Right.
Well, Jedi Fallen Order is all about that. It's like, oh, what if you go to this planet first?
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, well,
Yeah.
you got to be able to figure out the story on that. So,
Right.
yeah. But these guys have a great pedigree.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're working on Star Wars stuff, and I'm looking forward to Survivor, definitely.
Yeah. As a quick aside, Scott, are you watching the new season of Mandalorian?
I haven't started it yet.
Okay. All right.
I've been working on some other stuff, and I'm probably going to get to a point where I can just sit down and watch, 2 or 3 episodes at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when you watch episode 3 of this season, I want you to bring it up to me in the future.
Okay.
Because there's some things to talk about there. All right. Our last rumor number 5. According to Tom Henderson, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora pre-orders are imminent, suggesting
Whoa.
potentially that there is a showing, hopefully this week, maybe next week.
It's never this week.
It's never this week.
Is it? It's never this week. When somebody says
it's
it's this week, it's never this week.
Yeah.
Unless
yeah.
they actually hint at it. But yeah, it could be. It could be soon. But watch this thing land in September.
I know, right?
Spider-Man, Starfield. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they show this, that still could be at the end of the year, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I do know that I think in one of the rumors about this game, they were like, "Oh, I think what you're going to be able to do is you're going to have to go to a point of interest and you're going to have to solve a little puzzle."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's really interesting. That's like a unique innovation on like what to do." And then they did it in Far Cry 6, and I was like, "This is so freaking lame." Like how they're doing it,
Right?
Like find these 3 like mechanical objects in this little yellow area.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I guess this is made by Massive, which I think is Ubisoft's like good studio or good.
They made the Division and Division 2,
Right.
and they are using the same Snowblind engine, I believe is what's called, which is great for open worlds.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
It's a movie tie-in, so it gets 10 points taken off for that.
Yeah. Right. All right, let's go into our final segment of the podcast, which is our big talk, right? Now, I don't know if this is actually going to be a big talk. I might rename it medium talk or potentially smaller talk, because I don't know how much there is to glean from this. So my question to Scott is, before you, and don't answer right away because I have a little blurb to read to you. Scott, will mobile gaming be forever bad? Okay, now let me read to you this little blurb.
Okay.
So I Googled this, and this is what Google popped up. It says, perhaps you've heard the smartphone in your pocket is powerful enough to have put a man on the moon in 1969. It's one of those facts you read online that seems unbelievable, but in fact, a modern smartphone is exponentially more powerful than the guidance computer NASA used for the famous Apollo 11 mission. Okay, how the heck can't they create a compelling game eventually on these little devices? So I guess now I'll answer the question. Will it forever be bad?
Yeah. Will it forever be bad? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a small talk, wasn't it?
It's a small... all right, Scott. Let me maybe open your mind a little bit here, okay? Because I don't want to be a pessimist, Scott. I want to be an optimist, okay? So do you ever play board games? Like board games are like a nerdy cultural thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, I mean, there's a Skyrim board game that I'm looking at that.
Oh, it's piquing your interest.
Yeah, there have been some board games that have piqued my interest, but generally, I can't really tell you the last time I played one.
Played a board game, really?
Yeah.
All right. I feel like there's parts of the internet that are like board games are like they're like cool, they're fun. Now, I'm halfway. I'm like 1 foot in, one foot out. I think there's some interesting thing, but I'm like, if a board game can be fun, why can't this little device be fun?
I think because it's not a gaming device.
Yeah, but like, oh, okay,
It's
okay.
what?
Your computer's not a gaming device. Your computer is, it's what's it called? It's a device that helps you work better. It's an
Right.
efficiency device,
Right.
and then it turned into a
It's
gaming
for
device.
productivity, right?
Productivity. That's
And
right.
then
That's right.
somebody made Oregon Trail.
Right.
Right. So your phone is not is most people's everything, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, your absolute everything. I
Mhm.
mean, how many times if you can't find your phone, you freak out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's not because of the game that's on it. If you
Right.
came in
That's
your
true.
living room and your PS5 was missing, you would freak out,
Right.
but not in the same way, right?
Okay.
So I think that there's a couple of things there. One is that your cell phone is, it's information, it's your personal life. You put your
Hmm.
life into your phone, basically. It's a
Yeah.
communication.
Hmm.
But what it's built around and what is emphasized when they design phones is that interaction between you and the app that is on it. But it's not the app that you're downloading. It's the app that they put on the phone. It's the
Hmm.
phone. It's the social media application. It's the email. All of these
Hmm.
things that we use cell phones for. When they're designing phones, 99% of them, gaming comes dead last.
Yeah.
You want beautiful graphics. You want a great camera. You want to be able to present video or
Hmm.
anything 3D applications. But then gaming doesn't seem to be one of them.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
can I
so
stop you real quick? Can I
sure,
stop you? We've all seen the charts where mobile gaming has eclipsed like all gaming
it
in
is.
terms
It's
of revenue.
giant. Yeah.
Right. So potentially maybe you're selling it a little short as a gaming
Well,
device.
maybe a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't think that it's not okay. Well, anytime Samsung or Apple, I'm just going to use those for an example, they show a new
Yeah.
phone. They may show one little snippet of like Minecraft on it or
Okay.
something, but that's not the emphasis. That's not the selling point of the phone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not
Hmm.
like, hey, check out this new phone. What does it do? Who cares? It plays this game at 120 frames per second. That's not the market. That's the
Hmm.
problem. That's when we as people that are enthusiasts and we this is our hobby. We spend a lot of time playing games.
Hmm.
We demand certain quality from our games. We
Hmm.
don't get it, but we do. We still demand it. We're like, hey, we
Right.
want 120 frames per second. We want 4K. We want this game to work. We want it to feel good. We want it to look good. We want to be able to play with our friends. We have all of these stipulations. I mean, you yourself you've got a list
Hmm.
of, criteria. People
Right.
that play phone games do not care. They simply
Uh-huh.
do not care.
Yeah.
And the people making the games and the phones know that. They know their market. They don't have to market that thing toward a gaming system because
Hmm.
it's not. When you buy the phone, you put all your stuff on it and then you put your games on it.
Yeah, I hear you. Um,
So why is it so big?
well, let me tell you. So why I wanted to bring this story up. First of all, I think I told you a few weeks ago. I went to the airport,
Mhm.
and I'm always a little snoopy. Whenever someone's on their phone, I always look at what's on the screen. I kid you not, it was crazy. It was crazy how many, and it's mostly women, are
Yeah.
playing these phone games
Yeah.
on this. Like way more than I anticipated. Right.
Oh yeah.
Um, I guess there was a recent study that just got commissioned too. That's why I kind of brought this up. So it says, according to a recent study commissioned by GameHouse, 74% of women play mobile games daily.
Hmm.
64% of them say mobile gaming is a vital source of quote me time.
Yeah.
That's huge. Those are
It
huge
is.
numbers,
It is.
right? So why can't they play good games? You
I
know,
don't. They play. People that play cell phone games play
it's
games for different reasons
it's
than,
all
than what we
puzzle games.
play. Than
Yeah, it's puzzle games and word games.
right. Right.
That's basically it.
Yeah. They're playing games to pass the time to kind of just forget about everything. But they're also that's about it. I don't
Yeah.
think there's a lot of competitiveness in the phone game genre, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
They're just playing for different reasons. I mean, we play video games. We put money into setups that totally encompasses into the game, right?
Yeah, you have
You
to,
know,
right.
yeah. I mean, we get the chair, we get the giant TV, we get the the
We
sound
always,
system or the headset or the
yeah.
you know,
And if someone walks by, you say, "You killed me." Like, how dare you?
yeah.
Like,
How dare you
how dare you grab
You're
10% of my brain?
right. You're in my
Yeah.
gaming bubble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out. That's not a cell phone player. I mean, they
Right.
might be irritated that you're like, hey, I'm playing a game. Um, I think that accessibility of having it on a cell phone is what makes it what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to buy something else. You don't have to sit in front of your TV. It's not something that you have to share with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wanted to play games and they bought a console and they plugged it up to their TV, anybody else in their house is going to be like, "Oh, I want to play," or at least sit down with you, or at least be there telling you, you shouldn't be doing that.
Right. Right.
Cell phone, you can be in anywhere playing a cell phone game, and you can tell people you're just going through your emails, right? So
Right.
it's totally personal and private what you're
Yeah.
doing with your phone.
Those women are being sneaky.
Sneaky. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that is a big appeal to it. It's
Yeah.
not so much, it's like, oh, well, it's just like reading a book. It's like all you need is the
Right.
book. You
Yeah.
know, all you
Yeah.
need is the app.
Right. I know a couple years ago, some site did a headline saying like top 20 games for your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you think traditional games media did with that story? They went ballistic. They were
Yeah.
like, "How dare you think that like girls and guys prefer different games?" Right? Like it's just
Right.
a crazy concept,
Right.
right? But I thought that was interesting. It made me think of that when I read this. So this was according to the study. It says Gamehouse's CEO says, "quote Thanks for our unrivaled heritage of the past 25 years in the genres that women engage with most. Gamehouse aims to own the quote me time gaming experience." So it's like their CEO is saying like, we're making games for women gamers.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that it was so interesting how like our media, the media that we connect with, is like, oh, there's no difference. Like
Yeah, as games are
you're
games, right?
you're a sexist pig if you think your girlfriend likes different games than you
Right.
do, or you know what I
Right.
mean. That just I did think of that. I don't know how much more there is to say this. I do know there was one phone game I liked. It was called Neptune's Pride.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott, I tell this to everyone, and I'm amazed. Like in my brain, I'm like, this is the most interesting concept ever, and everyone's like, okay, that's kind of cool, but like that's not really that cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically Risk in outer space meets Rust. You know how Rust,
Yeah.
Rust, you're on a server for like a 2-month server,
Mm-hmm.
and so like all your actions have consequences in it.
Right.
Neptune's Pride is like you're in a 3-week server, and you can communicate with your other spacefaring civilizations, and you can kind of form these kind of alliances.
Yeah.
And then you backstab everybody, and you're like, dude, I've been working with you for 2 weeks. How could you
How
do
can
this
you do
to me,
that?
right? I was totally into that game for about a month, and then you realize when you play that game, the game encourages you to check it every hour of the 24-hour day because you see it in real time what
Right.
ships are going where.
Right.
So that means like you better be setting alarm clocks like 2 times a night to make sure you're not getting backstabbed.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that game was fascinating, but it didn't seem to blow up. It didn't seem to do very
Well,
much.
yeah, it's probably too much. There's not a market for it, maybe, right? It's
Yeah.
we keep thinking that phone games are just going to get better and better and better. Well, they're not.
Right.
They don't have to. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would like
Yeah.
to have a phone game that utilized everything in my phone.
Mhm.
The camera,
Pokemon Go.
the
Pokemon Go.
microphone. Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that game was genius because you're
Right.
utilizing the camera in your phone, the microphone,
Right.
you're getting out of the house. It's in real time. You're having to go do things. And that blew up for a little while. But
it's still big. I know what you mean. It blew up a little while.
right.
You
I mean,
were
it was
seeing
like
people
massive,
outside,
and then
Yeah.
and you get the people that are like, whatever, and then you have the players that like the Pokemon
Right.
players, but there needs to be more of that. There needs to be, utilize the phone, utilize the touch, the everything about it. When Nintendo makes a game for the Switch or the DS or anything, it utilizes every bit of that console.
Yeah.
I think that if they just did that more, they might get some people that are, like us, that want something a little different,
Right.
a little more advanced in their cell phone.
Let me ask you one more question about this. So you know how I keep telling you I want to be a gaming czar? Now I didn't realize this, but czar is a Russian term for like a ruler in Russia.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that
I know
term.
that's not.
Yeah.
We don't do that. So now I'm gaming El Presidente.
Okay, yeah, that'll work.
We can use that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So as gaming El Presidente, and also I'm going to be doing bad things to people too. So people that disobey.
Well, sure.
Yeah, sure. What if I said to the entire industry, like the top 10 most like Blizzard, Hideo Kojima, Nintendo, all the companies that podcast hosts if they're hosting a video game podcast, what if I said to them, you guys all have to make a cell phone game? Obviously, the ones that disobey me, Gulag. Not Gulag, the Spanish Gulag.
El Prisino, yeah.
El Prisino, right.
Yeah, I think all of them would probably just go straight to prison. Yeah. It's
like, you honestly don't think that Hideo Kojima would be like, okay, that's an interesting idea. How do I make a quality, a good cell phone game?
I don't know. I mean, it's. I don't. What would it be?
I don't know what it would be.
I mean, there's no answer to this. I mean, we can only speculate. But would he be offended, or would it be? I mean, what do these guys think of that format? I mean, we know that the publishers love it, obviously, because it's just like printing money. But if you're, well, okay. Todd Howard, they made 2 cell phone games based on Elder Scrolls and Fallout.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Fallout Shelters. That game was actually pretty good.
Oh my gosh, Scott! You utter those words right now at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, so I thought I liked that game.
So when I say to you, will mobile games forever be bad? You said yes, but you're already admitting there's some good mobile games out there.
Okay. Well, I mean, it was good. Sure. I mean,
it was. Yeah.
But that's one game. We're talking about the industry.
Right.
You have one game that you liked.
I know.
That's my probably one game that I liked.
Yeah.
Did I play it for months and months? No. But it was good. I mean, it did exactly what it was supposed to. It didn't require me to buy anything, which was
right.
I can't say the same for Elder Scrolls Blades, where you get to a chest and they want real money for you to open it. But that's where they're taking, and I'm getting to the big one here in a second.
Yeah.
That's taking a franchise and making something playable on the go with it. And that's exactly what Shelter was. It was like you can go in and just kind of click on stuff and do this and then check on it later, and perfect for a cell phone. But then you've got Blizzard making the next Diablo game on a cell phone, Immortal. That has no reason to be on a cell phone. That genre, that it just, that IP doesn't need to be on a cell phone.
Yeah.
That was just, and in the game itself just bleeds, transactions. I mean, it's just
right.
You got, and we all know how it launched, and
very successful, by the way, very successful.
Very successful. Unfortunately, because people just they download stuff and they don't care. But again, that game itself for me kind of sums up what mobile gaming is. It's geared toward you buying something that you don't need on a phone game that you'll probably delete, a month later.
Right.
Right. So that, and that's part of the problem right there. It makes too much money. If you make a successful, you don't make a cell phone game to be good. You make it to be successful and make money. something.
You say that, but I can't agree with it because of this reason. Like, there are like board game makers, right? They
Mhm.
love making board games. They're like, this is their medium, this is their artwork, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just like, you know, what people like me and you like, we like tactile. Like if I press X, the thing happens on the screen
Right.
instantly, right? And
Right.
I feel like game board people are like, well, you just pick up your piece, you move it, then you roll new dice. It's like more like, I don't know if you want to say strategic, or it's just not as tactile
Right.
as, right? So I'm like, well, we're not going to have I guess we do have a Diablo, but like, I think like we're thinking like, a BioShock game, like a BioShock first person shooter. Everyone likes that, or, a lot of people like that. Like
Mhm.
that's not going to translate well to the mobile device, right?
I guess not.
Because
Yeah.
who wants to use this stupid screen for all your buttons, right? It's a bad experience.
Okay.
But I guess I'm saying like, I think of JRPGs. I'm like, JRPGs, you really don't need to. You don't need that feel because they're turn based. They're a little bit
It's like
slower. You can
button
kind of,
mashing. Right.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I'm just like, I just feel like if Hideo Kojima took 5 years to make a cell phone game, I would definitely be interested in seeing what he came up with, right?
Yeah. Well, again, that's somebody that's like, okay, give me something to make a game on. I'm going to come up with something very inventive to
Right.
put on this format.
Yeah.
There, that's not
What's happening?
right. 99% of the cell phone games are not made that way. They're made
No, they're
how
not. They're
we need
not.
it to be addictive. We need it to be
Right.
colorful. We need to have those
Right.
certain kind of sounds.
Yeah.
And then fill it with full of ads and microtransactions, and
Yeah.
that's how they make a successful cell phone game.
Right. Right.
There are very few people that are interested in actually making a game that is,
Yeah.
actually good.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, when I
I
say good, that's subjective. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
a game that's made just for the game.
Right. Right.
Board games, those people love games.
Yeah.
They love making games, and they love everything about board games, and it
Yeah.
shows when you buy a board game.
Hmm.
But they don't show up at your house, when you pull a card that says, go to this area, oh, and
Yeah.
then give this guy that just came to your door $5, right?
I know. I know.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't get further in this game until I give, this guy
Yeah,
$5.
I think we're talking about two different things. Like you're talking about what like the current market, it's very successful. This is what's successful on it. And I'm just like, I'm thinking of the device. Like the
Yeah.
device has potential. Why aren't we seeing it? Right.
No, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Again, I want to see them make games that utilize everything on the phone
Right. Right.
because it is something that is mobile. It's something that has multiple devices. I mean, some of them, have, magnetic detectors and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can utilize that in a game.
Yeah.
I just don't know how successful those games would be.
Right.
I mean, if I had a friend that was a developer and we grew up together and he knows me better than anybody, and I said, make me a cell phone game, he'd go, no,
Really?
because what I would make for you that you would enjoy would not make me money.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think it's interesting because I feel like, gamers like us, our mobile devices, they're not, like I feel like we're a market that is like not being served with mobile gaming, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I would just be like, I cannot believe there's not 3 college kids somewhere being like, well, there's this population of gamers who aren't interested in these like Candy Crush games.
Yeah.
Like, can we make a game for those types of gamers? But it just seems like no one's doing that right now, right?
Yeah. I would.
Yeah.
It would be great if there was. There was a time when a lot of some of the games that were coming out had a companion, had like an
Right,
app,
right.
a companion, right?
Right.
Those didn't work very well.
Yeah.
There was, I think it was Battlefield 3 or was it Battlefield 4 that actually had like a commander mode.
And you could tell players what to do.
Yeah, you had a map of the match, and the guy and your buddies are on the feet. They're on the ground. You could be at work, and you get your iPad out, and you go, "Okay, go over here. Okay, look, they're taking E. You need to go to E."
Right.
And that was genius. I mean, that was just brilliant because some people would enjoy. Like I am the strategy player, right?
Right.
These are my pieces, and they just happen to be my college buddies, and then I'm going to tell them where to go and what to do, and
Do you remember playing that? Did you play that?
Yeah, it didn't work at all.
Oh, it
I
didn't.
mean,
So it
no
didn't work from a technical perspective, or it
technical
didn't work like.
standpoint. It
So it was
was
just glitchy. It was buggy.
right. It was. It didn't work most of the time, and then when it did work, it didn't update in
Quick
real
enough. Or,
time, right? Because you would
oh.
have like, well, I'm at A. No, it says you're still over here.
Oh,
That
really?
kind of thing. So
Oh.
the limitations of it, I think, failed. And even Destiny, when it launched, it had an app where you can go in and you can see your character and do some things with it, minor things. Some other people have made apps where you can go in and change your inventory on the fly, which is really cool and really handy.
Yeah.
Instead of like flying to another location to get your inventory. It's just stupid. But that works well because of the way they design the game.
Yeah.
Not every game can do that. But just having like your phone as your mini map,
That's cool.
where you wouldn't have to zoom in on it. You could just set it in front of you, or you can just have it, little things like that. I think that,
Would be interesting.
if you charged for it, a couple of bucks, if it worked, I
Some
would buy
people
it.
would do it. Some people would do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott, I know when Fortnite went crossplay, they have mobile Fortnite. I
Right.
remember, I told you a big part of my play experience was queuing with randoms. So I'd queue with some kid and he'd be communicating with me. I'd be like, hey, you want to keep, or I usually I wouldn't be wanting to like play with kids, but if they're like, hey, will you play again with me? I'd be like, whatever, fine.
Right.
And I remember one time vividly, it would turn into like, oh, hey, my other friend just jumped on. You want to play squads with us, right? And the kid was like 13 or whatever. I'm like, whatever, fine, let's try it. And so one of the kid comes in the lobby and he's on his cell phone and he's like yelling at his mom outside. And I'm like, where are you right now? And he's like, I'm on the sidewalk. I'm walking down the street, like walking down the street or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's like that's fascinating to me, you know?
Yeah.
And like he's playing pretty much just as good as everyone else, but
Yeah.
and that's how he liked to interface with the game. But I certainly wouldn't want to play Fortnite on a sidewalk with my cell phone.
No, and that's the separation. I mean, there's Call of Duty mobile, there's Fortnite mobile, Apex Legends.
Apex just got shut down.
Well, yeah, that's true. They just got shut down.
Yeah.
But and that actually worked pretty good.
Yeah. I like how the one developer was like, I think is the best mobile game like on the market. It got shut down because gamers are stupid or something like that. Did you hear that? He was just defending the quality of the Apex Legends, and he's like, "It's a shame we're shutting it down."
Well, yeah, and maybe that's not your market,
Right.
Right. Fortnite is everywhere. I mean, it's
right.
But Call of Duty Online does pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's
PUBG Mobile was huge.
PUBG
huge.
Mobile, right? But they are cell phone games. I mean, they're riddled with microtransactions, and it's not the same game. It's not the same experience, obviously.
Right.
Fortnite is kind of unique where you can play with people on a cell phone.
Yeah.
Because maybe just because the gameplay itself is not overly complicated.
No, don't say that. It's terrible. It's a terrible experience.
Oh, on cell phone.
I think people are doing it because kids are like, I love Fortnite. I can't play it on my Wii right now. I have to play it on the cell phone. Like that. So it's a complicated game that requires all the buttons.
Okay, so it's more like a this is the only way I have to play it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
I got you. Yeah. So that's then that's a narrow market that's actually doing well for them. It's like if you're you got grounded from your Xbox, or your PlayStation. It's so you just go, oh, fine. Play it on my phone.
Do you remember a few years back, Epic sued Apple, and then and then Apple took it off the App Store. The reason why that happened is because the mobile version of Fortnite wasn't raking in the dough that the console and PC versions were. I know it was on there, and a small percentage of players were doing it, but it wasn't.
They wanted. It's the same reason that you don't have an Xbox App Store. That they don't want Epic. You could buy things in the game.
Yeah.
Through Fortnite, and Apple doesn't let you do that. It's like you can't buy anything in this game. It has to go through our store, so we get our cut of it. And Epic, being Epic, just put it on there and it's like, no, we don't care, you know. And then pulled it off, and then even had this campaign about
1984.
Yeah, like come on, man. Like nobody's rooting for your $1 trillion company. Give me a break. But yeah, so there's a lot of that aspect too, and and this is why Microsoft wants to get into the mobile market. They want King. They want that Candy Crush. Call of Duty's just like, yeah, we'll work out some in Call of Duty. Call of Duty's fun, but we want this. We want that mobile market, and they don't have it. And they've tried to make their own, and they found it very difficult, and it is difficult. I mean, you just can't do it, but you can buy it. Yeah. So after all of that, to answer your question, I kind of still with the same thing. I don't think the mobile market is something that the market itself, as far as apps on a cell phone, I don't think are going to get better in quality, because I don't think they have to. That's not to say that the apps were allowing you to play other games, like say on Game Pass or your PlayStation games through your phone.
Right. That's a little different.
May get better and viable solution.
It's funny. I remember playing Neptune's Pride, and even back then, that game was, I don't know, 15 years old or around that time. I remember back then the distaste everyone had for mobile gaming, and I'm like, oh, they're all wrong. Mobile gaming is going to be great in 5 years. Like, this proves it. I had this idea that Neptune's Pride was
Stadia. Right. Stadia is going to be the future. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. I can't. This is only, again, this is coming from somebody that plays on console, plays on PC, not playing hardly anything on my. I play solitaire if I'm in the waiting to get my oil change or something. Right. If I play anything at all. Yeah. So I'm not really. I'm not. I shouldn't be asked that, I guess, but that's just my perceptions. Not the authority.
I want to leave you with one tidbit of information.
Yep.
The developer of Neptune's Pride, his name is Jay Kybers, right? He was it's a single developer who made that game. He also helped make Void Bastards.
No kidding.
Isn't that interesting?
Really?
Yeah, and it's funny. I like the one game. I like the Void Bastards.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting. Scott, I think our small talk turned into a big talk.
It did. That was a good question, because it's... Yeah, it's not something I don't really think about the mobile market that much.
No, I know. I
think about games all the time in the industry all the time, and then mobile just never comes into.
Next time you go to the airport, look at those phones. You might start thinking about mobile gaming and why it is the way it is.
Oh yeah.
Scott, I have a question for you. Can you do a thick impersonation, and do you have any words of like a interesting quote? I mean, if you're on a game show and they're like, for $1 million, think of one quote that is in the universe and say it within the next 10 seconds. Could you do it?
I'm gonna say it, but it's probably not gonna be verbatim.
Get as close as you can, and I'll see if you win the $1 million.
You can win many wars and conquer many things, but until you conquer yourself, you have not won. How about that?
I like it. That is good. That's a better quote than our old thick ever did. Yeah.
Oh man.
Phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Now you're pulling double duty. You got to tell listeners how to contact us. But now here's the thing. There is a way to contact us, right?
Sure.
Let's go with the real email address, not the email address that led to nowhere.
What is the real email address?
I think what it is the Supply Drop Podcast.
Keep going.
Let's just have them go to our YouTube channel, all right?
Yeah, just go to YouTube and leave us a comment. I mean, who uses email anyway?
Yeah, exactly. And Scott, real quick, what is our YouTube channel called?
It is called the Supply Drop Podcast at YouTube. Yes,
that's right.
It goes there. We now have faces on our videos. Yeah. We actually have video on our video. So go there, drop us a comment, let us know. Give us a topic to talk about if you want something for us to tackle and give our unprofessional opinion on, then by all means, let us know.
Yeah, and I do want to say, if you do like Resident Evil 4, we're not talking to you.
Right.
So we're only talking about people who do not like Resident Evil 4.
Right.
So I think that should be known.
Only the people that agree with us.
Yeah. Exactly. All right,
Yeah, I
Scott.
think Thick's probably like, I know what his talk's going to be next week.
How did I get wrapped up with these two? Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you next Monday, everyone. Next Monday.
Yep.
All right. Adios, guys.
Bye.